Have you ever felt your entire mood shift because of one careless word, one long silence, or one unexpected betrayal? Not because the world was harsh, but because something inside you was still too reactive. The Stoics taught that true power is not found in controlling others, but in mastering yourself. It is not loud, it is not aggressive, it is steady, calm, and deliberate. In a world full of noise and provocation, the man who does not flinch becomes unshakable. This is not about avoiding emotion, it is about not being owned by it. If you are tired of being pulled into every storm, this message is for you. What follows is not a quick fix, it is a quiet shift. And once you understand it, nothing and no one will be able to disturb your peace again. Take a breath. Stay with me. Let us begin. 1. Make self-control your shield. There is always a quiet moment before the storm, a single breath, a subtle trigger. Someone interrupts you, mocks you, cuts you off, or ignores your presence entirely, and in that moment, without even realizing it, you hand over your power, you tense up, you raise your voice, you defend your ego. But you are not winning, you are reacting, and reaction is not strength. It is surrender dressed in urgency. Most people believe that power is loud, that the one who shouts back, who retaliates quickly, who refuses to back down, is the one in control. But Stoicism teaches us otherwise. True power is not about reaction, it is about restraint. It is not about showing your teeth, it is about choosing when to reveal them and when to walk away in silence. Self-control does not mean you feel nothing. It means you're no longer controlled by everything. Imagine two men. The first one gets cut off in traffic. His heart rate spikes. He curses. He slams the steering wheel. The offender is long gone, but the man carries the tension into his next conversation, his next decision, his next hour. He has lost far more than a moment. He has lost his peace. Now imagine the second man, the same situation, the same trigger, but he pauses. He breathes. He lets the urge rise inside him, but he does not act on it. He observes it like a passing cloud, then lets it go. His face remains still. His spirit remains unmoved. That is not weakness. That is mastery. To be calm in a chaotic world is not a natural talent. It is a discipline, one that must be practiced daily. The Stoic knows that his energy is limited and sacred. Every reaction costs something. Every time he lets anger dictate his words. Every time he lets disrespect pull him into conflict, he leaks power. A man without control over his emotions is like a city without walls. Anyone can enter, anyone can take something, anyone can define his mood. But the man who builds his emotional walls strong and high does not become isolated. He becomes free. He is no longer ruled by the moods of others, the insults of strangers, the chaos of random events. When someone tries to provoke you and you do not flinch, you become untouchable. You do not have to speak louder to be heard. You do not have to prove your value to someone who cannot see it. You simply hold your ground in silence, and in doing so, you show that your peace is not up for negotiation. Not every insult deserves a response. Not every confrontation deserves your time. When you stop reacting, you start choosing. And that choice is where your strength lives. Let self-control become your shield. Let the pause become your habit. When something or someone tries to pull you into chaos, meet it not with panic, but with poise, not with heat, but with clarity. Let your presence speak louder than your words. Let your calm be the loudest thing in the room. Because when you master your reactions, you master your life. And once you do that, no one can bother you again, not because the world becomes kinder, but because your peace no longer depends on it. 2. Lower expectations of others. Disappointment is not born from what people do. It is born from what we expected them to do. That's the quiet trap most people never see. You imagine someone will understand, will care, will notice, will give. You believe they will respect your boundary, remember your kindness, match your effort, but they don't. And in that moment, you feel wounded. Not because of their actions, but because your unspoken expectations were unmet. That is the great Stoic awakening. The pain you feel is not in what happened, it is in what you thought should have happened. We live as if people owe us clarity, patience, empathy, as if every friend should support us, every partner should soothe us, every colleague should respect our labor. But most of these expectations were never agreed upon. They live in our minds alone. Expectation is a silent contract we create, one-sided and unsigned. When others violate it, they have not betrayed us. We have betrayed ourselves by assuming they ever promised what we longed for. Think about someone who keeps frustrating you. Maybe it is a parent who never shows appreciation, a friend who forgets your important moments, a coworker who rarely acknowledges your work. The question is not why they are the way they are. The real question is why you are still expecting something different. The Stoics, from Marcus Aurelius to Epictetus, reminded themselves daily that human nature is flawed, inconsistent, often self-centered. They did not do this to grow bitter. They did it to prepare their minds for reality. They did it to reclaim their peace before the day began. Imagine entering a room with no expectations. You're not hoping the barista is cheerful, or that traffic flows perfectly, or that your friend texts back immediately. You simply observe. You engage with what is real. And when something unpleasant happens, you do not collapse into complaint. You respond with clarity, not resentment, because you no longer feel entitled to a world that always accommodates you. This is not a cold detachment. It is a warm acceptance of what is. Lowering expectations is not about lowering your heart. It is about lifting your mind. It is not the death of kindness or the denial of connection. It is the beginning of freedom. When you stop needing others to fulfill roles they never signed up for, you begin to relate to them as they are, not as you wish them to be. That is where peace lives, in the gap between what we release and what we no longer demand. A man who ties his peace to the behavior of others will always be at war. One careless word, one forgotten favor, one thoughtless moment can destroy his balance. But a Stoic unhooks that cord. He no longer demands stillness from storms. He builds shelter. He no longer begs broken people to act whole. He simply stops giving them the power to fracture him. So begin now. Choose one person who has disappointed you often. Ask yourself clearly, without excuse or blame, am I upset by what they did, or by what I imagined they would do? That question is your mirror and your release. You are not cold for letting go. You are clear. You are not weak for adjusting your hopes. You are wise. From this day forward, say this to yourself: I will meet people where they are, not where I want them to be. I will stop asking the rain to be sunshine. I will learn to walk through the storm with a steady mind and a prepared heart. That is the essence of Stoic freedom, and it is yours to practice every single day. 3. Practice indifference to provocation. Not everyone seeks peace. Some people crave control, and their method is simple. They provoke. They prod, they push until you break, because the moment you react, they win, not because they overpowered you, but because they dragged you down to their level. They set the frame, and you stepped into it. You stopped being who you are and became who they wanted you to be. That is the real damage, not the insult itself, not the words they threw, but the fact that they reached into your center and pulled a reaction out of you. A man loses his strength the moment he lets someone else write his emotional script. Stoic indifference is not apathy. It does not mean that you stop caring about justice or truth. It means you stop allowing petty provocations to dictate your state of mind. You become the gatekeeper of your own energy. You protect your focus like a warrior defends sacred ground, because it is sacred. Your mind is not a battlefield for fools. It is a temple, and no one enters without your permission. Picture this: you are in traffic. Someone cuts you off. A flash of heat rises in your chest. You want to honk, to yell, to reclaim your dignity, but then you remember they took a lane, not your peace. Or imagine a colleague making a passive-aggressive comment during a meeting. Everyone hears it. Everyone watches you. You feel the pull to retaliate, to correct, to strike. But instead, you breathe. You wait. You realize that by not reacting, you have already won, because your identity is no longer dictated by noise. The Stoics taught that insults are powerless without your consent. Epictetus said, "If someone tries to hurt you and you do not accept the injury, then you have not been harmed." Pain demands permission, and provocation only works if it finds a target ready to react. The man who pauses, who lets the words fall without letting them sink in, becomes something rare. He becomes untouchable, not because he fights harder, but because he refuses to fight at all. He chooses his battlefield, his timing, his tone. That is not weakness, that is mastery. You still set boundaries, you still speak your truth when it matters, but you no longer chase justice in the mud. You do not argue with people committed to misunderstanding you. You do not waste your clarity on noise. Instead, you walk through it with poise. You let their chaos swirl around you while your mind remains still. You rise without resistance. You dominate without attack. Try it today. In one moment where you would normally snap, choose silence instead. 3 seconds. That is all it takes. Let the energy rise. Feel it fully. But do not act. Ask yourself, does this deserve my peace? Then let go. That pause becomes your mirror, your discipline, your edge. Because the man who stays calm under pressure sends a deeper message than the one who shouts. His stillness is not absence. It is presence. It is power. Let others speak with fire. You answer with stone. Let them provoke. You remain whole. In that discipline, you reclaim your strength. In that silence, you win, not with noise, but with clarity, not by reacting, but by rising. That is the quiet victory of the Stoic. And it is available to you every day, in every moment. All it takes is the decision not to play their game. 4. Treat each situation as a character test. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. Every inconvenience, every moment that presses against your patience, every insult that stings, every plan that falls apart is not chaos. It is curriculum. Life is not trying to break you. It is trying to show you who you are when things no longer go your way. And most people fail this test without even realizing it. They flinch. They complain. They ask, why is this happening to me? But the Stoic does something different. He asks, what strength is this calling me to build? Pain is not personal. It is purposeful. It arrives not to punish, but to instruct. Every frustration is a set of weights your character can lift if you're willing to stop reacting and start responding. Only when you stop seeing yourself as the victim and begin to see yourself as the architect of your own spirit does growth become possible. The world will not soften, but you can sharpen. The storm outside does not have to become a storm within. Imagine the next difficult moment in your life. Someone disrespects you at work. A partner lashes out. A plan you cared about falls apart at the last moment. That is not just a bad day. That is the training ground, the gym of life. And you have 2 choices. You can let that moment shrink you into anger and blame, or you can let it shape you into someone unshakable. Most men fall into reaction. The Stoic breathes. He observes. He reflects. Then he declares, I will not waste this pain. Real character is not forged in comfort. It is forged in discomfort. It is forged in the moments that test your patience, challenge your dignity, and press your ego. That difficult conversation, that betrayal, that unexpected rejection, these are not obstacles in your way, they are the way. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that the fire turns everything it touches into flame. That is not just poetic, it is the truth. What tries to destroy you can become your fuel if you stop fearing it and start facing it. It is easy to be patient when people are kind. It is easy to be calm when everything goes as planned. But life will test your values, not in peace, but in pressure. That is when your strength becomes real. Not the strength that looks impressive from the outside, but the kind that endures silently when no one is watching. The kind that lets you remain composed when everything inside you wants to break. You do not need a perfect life to grow. You need a shift in how you see your struggles. Stop looking for comfort. Start looking for meaning. That traffic jam, that delay, that cold silence in the room, that is where your work begins. Quietly, daily, intentionally. Here is your practice. The next time you feel irritation creeping in, pause. Do not suppress it. Name it. Then ask yourself, what is this shaping in me? Will I let this moment control me, or will I use it to train deeper composure? Will I explode to feel powerful, or will I stand still to become powerful? You are not required to avoid the burn, but you are responsible for what you do with it. Let it carve something stronger. Let it build what the world cannot see. That is your edge. That is your character. That is how you quietly rise, not in spite of pressure, but because of it. 5. Observe emotions without letting them rule. A man is not defeated because he feels. He is defeated because he allows every feeling to become his master. Anger flares and he lashes out. Fear whispers and he retreats. Shame rises and he hides. But what if he didn't obey every emotion? What if, instead of becoming the storm, he learned to watch it pass? This is not about suppressing your emotions or pretending you're made of stone. It is about learning not to be dragged across the ground by every internal impulse. Emotions are signals, not commands. They are fast, they are loud, they demand attention, but they are not the truth of who you are. You are not your frustration. You are not your panic. You are the one capable of seeing these states arise without becoming them. That is where your power begins, in the space between the feeling and the action. Freedom is not found in denial. It is found in the discipline of distance. Imagine you are standing in a room and someone tries to humiliate you. You feel the heat rise, the jaw tighten, the surge of pride demanding justice. But instead of snapping, you breathe. You name it without shame. This is anger. I feel it, but it will not choose for me. And just like that, you interrupt the ancient chain reaction. You do not lose your fire. You learn to hold it without letting it burn the room down. Most people believe that if they feel it, they must express it. But the Stoics knew better. Between stimulus and response lies a sacred space, and in that space is your ability to decide. This is where emotional strength lives, not in pretending to feel nothing, but in choosing not to let those feelings drive the wheel. Strength is not in the shout. It is in the silence. It is in the breath between the insult and the reply. It is in the pause where dignity is reclaimed. Begin this practice in the smallest moments. At work, when something goes wrong. At home, when you feel misunderstood. In traffic, when patience wears thin. Before you speak, pause. Before you act, ask yourself, what am I feeling? But more importantly, what will I build with this feeling? Will it lead to wisdom or wreckage? Will it build or destroy? If the answer brings no clarity, let the feeling pass through you. If it holds value, move forward, but only after the storm within you settles. You are not weak for choosing restraint. You are wise. You are not passive for waiting. You are precise. The Stoic man is not unfeeling. He is unshaken. He understands that the emotion is real, but the reaction is optional. And in a world that rewards impulse, that pause becomes a rare kind of power. Each time you wait, each time you breathe instead of react, you grow stronger. That strength is not loud. It does not announce itself, but it changes everything. You begin to see clearly. You begin to move deliberately. And you begin to lead yourself, not follow the chaos inside you. So let this be your daily discipline. Do not chase calm by fighting emotion. Let it rise. Let it move through you. Then decide. Because when you walk forward by choice, not by impulse, you become someone who is not just reacting to life, but mastering it. That is Stoic resilience, and it is built one pause at a time. 6. Be grateful even in discomfort. Gratitude means little when everything goes your way. Anyone can be thankful when the sky is clear, when the morning is smooth, when people are kind and plans align. But the Stoic knows this is not where true strength is born. It is easy to smile when the sun is shining. The real test is what you do when the clouds gather, when your day begins with disappointment, when traffic holds you hostage, when the person you counted on leaves you waiting again. In those moments, most people collapse into complaint. They replay what went wrong. They stew in frustration. They look for someone to blame. And each complaint tightens the grip of bitterness. But the Stoic man does not dig deeper into discontent. He rises above it, because he understands a deeper truth. Gratitude is not a reward for comfort. It is a weapon for clarity. It is not pretending things are fine. It is choosing to see what the discomfort can teach. Inside every irritation is a seed of growth, a test of patience, a challenge to ego, an invitation to refine. The discomfort is not the enemy of peace. It is the proving ground of peace. Picture yourself in a long line, late for something important. Your phone keeps buzzing. Nothing is moving. You feel it coming, the sigh, the glare, the impulse to complain. But instead, you pause, you breathe, you tell yourself, this is my practice. This moment is not here to ruin me. It is here to train me. Suddenly, you are not a victim of the delay. You are a student of discipline. The same moment that once stole your calm now becomes the forge of your endurance. That shift is everything. Most men chase comfort, thinking it will bring peace, but comfort breeds fragility. Real resilience is built when life resists you and you choose not to resist it back, but to meet it with purpose. The man who learns to ask, "What is this teaching me?" transforms every frustration into feedback. And when you can say, thank you to the moment that challenges you, you are no longer just surviving, you are evolving. Seneca wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." That is not poetic comfort. That is practical reality. Growth is not a byproduct of ease. It is the result of resistance, met with the right mindset. Gratitude becomes that mindset. Not gratitude for injustice or cruelty, but for the power to respond with more strength than before. It is a mental shift where you no longer pray for life to soften. You pray to be sharpened. Here is the practice. At the end of the day, revisit one moment that tested you, one small scene that made you tense. Then ask, what did this allow me to train? Was it patience? Was it humility? Was it the discipline to stay silent? That is where gratitude lives, not in what was given to you, but in what you chose to build in response. Write it down. Speak it aloud. Let that reflection transform how you meet the next challenge. The Stoic does not wait for ideal conditions to grow. He turns every discomfort into a stepping stone. He does not chase positivity. He practices clarity. And when pain knocks, he meets it not with resistance, but with stillness. He does not seek to avoid the hard moments. He simply refuses to leave them without gaining something. So start now. Find gratitude in the grit. Let it anchor you. Let it sharpen you. That kind of gratitude will not just keep you calm, it will make you unstoppable. 7. Use time perspective to shrink problems. A flame looks enormous when your face is inches from the fire, but take a step back, and suddenly it's nothing but a flicker. That is what time does to problems. It does not erase them, it reframes them. What feels unbearable today often fades into something forgettable when seen from the right distance. But most people never take that step. They press their emotions too close to the present moment. They live with their forehead against every inconvenience, every insult, every delay, as if the discomfort now must define them forever. The Stoic trains himself differently. He uses time as a tool, a quiet scalpel that cuts through illusion. He asks, will this matter in a month? In a year? In 5? And with that question, most of what seemed heavy becomes light. The sarcastic comment loses its sting. The missed opportunity loses its weight. Because the wise man understands, urgency is a lie. Not everything is important just because it feels loud. Most things that disturb you today will mean nothing to you tomorrow, and that truth, if embraced, can save your peace. Imagine missing a flight or being overlooked in a meeting. Your heart races, your mind creates stories. But what if in that very moment, you whispered to yourself, this will pass, not as denial, but as discipline? Because when you choose perspective over panic, you rise. You no longer bleed from paper cuts. You stop offering your energy to what time would heal anyway, and that is wisdom. Let the moment be what it is. Feel it, but do not worship it. Step back, breathe, and remember, most storms are brief. Only your reaction can make them eternal. Let time reveal what truly matters. Let perspective soften your edges and guide you back to stillness. Strength is not noise. It is the quiet certainty that nothing outside of you owns your peace. What you've heard today is not theory. It is a practice, a path. You do not need perfect conditions to begin. You need presence, intention, and the courage to pause. Start small. Choose stillness. Protect your center. And if this message spoke to something inside you, take a breath, subscribe for more, and write below, still holding. Let this be the beginning. You are not here to react, you are here to rise, and the next step is already waiting.